The directions state to simplify. For A, it reads negative 18 plus 10 plus negative 4. Now keep in mind, GEMS, or order of operations, is still working in the background. However, when I read the problem, the only operations we heard was addition. So when it comes to addition, we work it out in order from left to right. So starting from the left, it says negative 18 plus 10. Now notice the value 18 is negative, 10 is positive. Since they have different signs, that means they're battling it out, playing tug of war. So this is where we subtract the values and keep the sign of the larger value. Well, 18 minus 10 is 8. And because 18 is larger, we keep the sign, which means the result is negative 8. We bring down the rest of the problem. So now it reads negative 8 plus negative 4. Again, from left to right, negative 8 plus negative 4. Notice 8 is negative, 4 is negative. So since they have the same signs, these are on the same team. So we will keep the sign, which in this case is negative, and we add the values. 8 plus 4 is 12. So our answer is negative 12. For problem B, we have 3 plus negative 13 plus negative 4 plus 7. Again, the only operation we have is addition, so we work it out in order from left to right. Starting on the left, 3 plus negative 13. Notice their signs. 3 is positive, but 13 is negative. So since they have different signs, this is tug of war. We keep the sign of the larger value because they're stronger and they have more people on that team. And so 3 plus negative 13, when we subtract, gives us 10. And we keep the sign of negative. So it's negative 10, and we keep the rest of the values. So plus negative 4 plus 7. Again, from left to right, we now see negative 10 plus negative 4. Notice 10 is negative, 4 is negative. So since they have the same signs, this is where they're on the same team, we add the values and keep the sign, giving us negative 14. We bring down the rest of the problem, so it reads negative 14 plus 7. Again, from left to right, negative 14 plus 7. Notice 14 is negative, 7 is positive. So they have different signs. So this is where they are playing tug of war. The larger team, the one that has more, we're going to keep its sign, and whatever makes them stronger is the result. So 14 minus 7 is 7, and we keep the sign, so the result is negative 7. Find the opposite of a number. The symbol negative or minus or hyphen represents the phrase the opposite of. So let's look at the following statement. The opposite of negative 2 is 2. First off, do you even agree with that statement? The opposite of negative 2 is a positive 2. Well, on the number line, I hope you envision that this is a true statement. Negative 2 lives to the left of 0, while 2 lives to the right of 0. They are on opposite sides of 0. So this is a true statement. Now what we're going to do is we are going to translate this from a grammatical statement into a mathematical statement using symbols. So first, the phrase the opposite of can be represented by that negative or minus or hyphen, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to choose to call it negative. Now the next part in the statement, the opposite of, now we have negative 2, which is just simply a negative 2. Is commonly represented as an equal sign, and then 2 is just, well, 2. So what we have is negative, parentheses, negative 2, close parentheses, equals 2. That's what it looks like mathematically, but grammatically, it's the opposite of negative 2 is 2. Well, that brings us to the statement. We can generalize this. Anytime you have the opposite of a negative value, the result will always be positive. So to generalize, negative, parentheses, negative a, close parentheses, equals positive a. Some of you may have heard this as a double negative. It basically means it undoes each other, which is why the result is positive. Let's look at a few examples using this rule. Simplify. For A, the problem reads 9 minus 19. Now recall, a number always takes the sign directly in front. So 9 appears to be positive. Now minus 19, that 19 takes the minus sign and holds it closer, which means we interpret that as a negative 19. So we have a positive 9 and a negative 19. Since they have different signs, we subtract, keep the sign of the larger value, which gives us negative 10. Now, problem B reads negative 5 minus parentheses negative 8, close parentheses. Now, again, we work this out from left to right. Negative 5 minus a negative 8. Well, be very careful about that. Minus a negative. Well, that minus actually means the opposite of negative 8, which turns into a positive 8. So we rewrite it to be negative 5 plus 8. Well, negative 5 plus 8, we have a negative 5 and a positive 8. Since they have different signs, that means they are playing tug of war, so we subtract. In this case, the result would be a positive 3, and it will remain a positive 3 because 8 is larger and was positive. Problem C reads negative 15 minus 2 minus, open parentheses, negative 4, close parentheses, plus 7. As I'm sure you can tell, this problem has more than just two values, so we do need to simplify in order from left to right. Starting on the left, we have negative 15 minus 2. Now recall, a number takes the sign directly in front of it. So that is a negative 15 and a negative 2. Since they have the same signs, we add and keep the sign, giving us negative 17. The rest of the problem remains the same, so the problem now reads negative 17 minus parentheses negative 4, close parentheses, plus 7. We continue working from left to right, so we focus on where it says negative 17 minus negative 4. Now, minus that negative, we can interpret that as the opposite of negative 4. Well, the opposite of negative 4 is a positive 4. So now we interpret the problem to read negative 17 plus 4 plus 7. Continuing from left to right, we now just focus on that negative 17 plus 4. The 17 is negative, the 4 is positive, so since they have different signs, they're playing tug of war, which means we subtract the values and keep the sign of the larger value, giving us negative 13. We bring down the rest of the problem, which is simply plus 7. So now we have negative 13 plus 7. Again, check their signs. 13 is negative, 7 is positive. So different signs means we need to find the difference or subtract the values and keep the sign of the larger value. In this case, that would give us negative 6.